The following broadcast is intended for mature audiences. These are real people sharing very real, deeply personal experiences. This content may be considered triggering for others and for those who are sharing. The chat room is a privilege intended for discussions and sharing. You are not being asked to agree, but you are being asked to stay civil and refrain from personal attacks. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, thank you for tuning back in to Am I Mental? This is a weekly live podcast where real people share real experiences living life with mental health issues. I am your host, E, and with us, as more often than not, is our co-host, KZ.
Yep, I am here today, so that's a plus.
Yep, just busting your balls a little bit. And today we have our guest, Yosh. Go ahead and say hi.
Hi.
All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself and what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Well, I'm Yosh. I'm 21. Fun fact, I have dealt with so many deaths in my life, but today we're going to be talking about two that were extremely, extremely close to me, personally.
And at 21, I mean, that's not an age that you'd normally expect to hear. I've dealt with a lot of death in my life.
Well, the first one that I ever dealt with, I was 6 years old. My brother and my whole family was going to this church, which I don't want to call a church because in all reality, it was a cult. Sorry.
Oh, no, don't worry. Remember, you're just having a conversation with me.
You're right about that. It was very difficult there. Everything was very precise. Like, if you weren't rich, then you wouldn't be able to talk to the pastor. If you were homeless and trying to come in and search for, God, I'm going to put that in quotation because their consideration of God was a limited thing, which I won't get into today.
Okay.
But if homeless were to come in and try and hear about a message, they would get kicked out just because they weren't really wealthy and they couldn't really help out the pastor in any way.
And that actually kind of sounds eerily similar to AJ from season 1, who is actually coming back at the end of the year, about the whole Christian cult thing.
Oh, whenever it comes to cults, and I've talked to plenty of different people that have been in cults myself because I'm in a similar situation, obviously. You're hearing very similar stories with just different motivations. Is all you're ever hearing.
That's fair.
I would say the pastors in this case, his motives would definitely be money. That would be everything, money and technically slaves. You would have people come in and take care of his house, take care of his kids, paint his walls, put in pools, do all that stuff for free because they wanted to be better with God.
You ever hear the song Send Me Your Money by Suicidal Tendencies?
I have not.
Because you're actually describing it. Doesn't God deserve to drive a Lamborghini? But since he's not on earth, let me be the vessel of God.
Oh, that's gross. But to jump back into this, my brother was a big part of this, and his name was Jason. At the time, he was 23. He was working for the church, and he was doing his best to, just get in right with God and do all that stuff. And he'd never done drugs. He's never had a sip of alcohol in his life. Like, he was just that straight edge type of guy. one day in this church, there was a woman, I believe, for all intents and purposes, I'm going to say the name is Tracy because I don't want to say actual names.
Good idea.
Yeah. Tracy and my mother were sitting down, and Jason just so happened to be sitting behind them. And at that time, my mother was kind of talking shit in the sense that she was talking to Tracy about how he wasn't good enough, he doesn't make enough money, and they were really just talking my brother down. And my brother was head over heels for this Tracy girl. That, like, his whole reasoning for really wanting to be in this church and be good with God was to get with this Tracy girl.
Okay.
But he overheard this whole conversation, and him and my mom already had their issues. So he decided that he would leave the church just for a week. He wanted, obviously he got really stressed.
Yeah, go clear his mind.
There you go. That's the word. So he winds up going on a camping trip with my cousin. So, before he leaves, my dad says goodbye to him, and I say bye to him. And actually, the day before I saw him, or I was going to see him again, he had gotten me this toy along with all of my other siblings. So, my sister got a dory, I got a turtle, and my brother got something else too, which I still have today.
Good. I mean, he sounds like he was a really caring individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was. So as my brother is going on this trip, he tells everybody where he's going. It's no big deal. He just needs to go and clear his head. But unfortunately, on this trip, him and my cousin wind up getting intoxicated. And they go to bar after bar after bar. And Sean, the cousin, winds up saying, hey, we're too drunk to just go hang out in the woods by ourselves. So he's like, we should go to my place. So they do that. Jason, who is stupid, drives drunk, which, keep in mind, he wasn't a drinker.
Right.
But he's doing it now.
So what we consider hammered, he's probably twice that.
Exactly. And anyway, yes, no, he was not a drinker.
It's okay. We're here.
Yeah.
I'm right here.
So they go back to Sean's place, and they get into an argument, which we'll never really fully know what that argument was. Some people say that it had to do with Jason not being a good enough person for the church, or trying to leave the church, or Jason even stating the fact that Sean didn't take good enough care of his child. There's several different options, but those are all the ones that I have heard. Unfortunately, at this time, as they're in this fight, Jason winds up getting strangled by my cousin Sean. Novelty houses, they're so fun.
Yay.
And because I was a little kid at the time and my brother was everything in the world to me, so I actually stayed up all night because my brother was going to be home at 5 a.m. I remember this. He was going to be home at 5 a.m. and he was only going to be there for 10 minutes. So I stayed up all night so I could see my brother. But
you guys were super close, it sounds like.
I was 6 and he was 23, so he as close as we can be.
I get it. So, it's like one of my uncles who's 7 years older than me. Whenever I had the chance to see him, I was like, yay!
Exactly. I would still consider him one of my best friends at the time. But again, he was my brother. He was my big brother. I loved him to death and everything about him. And again, for all intents and purposes, I'm going to call this person the Gummy Bear Man, specifically because he used to hand out gummy bears in the church.
Okay.
So I'm calling him Gummy Bear Man. Gummy Bear Man actually winds up showing up to my house instead. And I never heard what he said, but I do remember looking down from the staircase, and my dad just saw me. And I saw my dad kind of start to have just a look of absolute fear. Just fear. And
yeah, I can imagine at 6 years old seeing your dad actually afraid. The man of your household. That had to hit hard.
Oh yeah. No, I didn't know instantly, but I knew instantly something had happened to Jason because Gummy Bear Man's here and Jason's not here. So, what's going on? Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. If you need to take a break to go get some tissues or something, go right ahead.
Okay. I'm okay.
Okay.
Um,
And if you need a hug, I am in the other room.
We do have hearts, and we got May says she's sorry. Bexy's sad faces and all hugs to you.
Thank you. Okay. Got this. We're good. So within about 3 hours, my house is packed with people. People I knew, people I didn't know, people Jason knew, people my dad knew, just people. And being the little one that I was, death to me was like, oh, he's gonna go have a vacation with God. Cool, he's coming right back.
Yeah, I could see that.
That was like, I thought that for probably about 2 weeks in, because nobody had corrected me, and I was like, I don't understand why everybody's so sad.
Right, he's having a party with God. He'll be back.
Exactly, he'll be right back. It's cool.
Ouch.
But my sister Rebecca, who was there with me in my entire life, she actually wound up explaining to me exactly how death worked. Not to be so morbid, but
Right.
how it worked. And obviously then is when I really started to realize what happened. And at the time, my parents had actually told me that my brother had been carjacked. And they've told me several stories since then. I actually found out going online when I was little what happened, and I confronted my parents later on, and that was a whole nother thing.
I mean, it's one thing to have a random stranger come and kill your brother. It's something entirely different when it's a family member.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're gonna skip ahead to Jason's funeral.
Okay.
At his funeral, all I really specifically remember is having candles all over the park. And from what I was told, I couldn't really tell, but from what I was told, it spelled out, "We'll miss you, Jason." And like the smoke was supposed to spell out the letters.
Oh.
It was pretty neat.
That's actually really neat. That sounds, I mean, I hate to say it because of the situation, but it sounds freaking beautiful. But I mean, it's a celebration of Jason, so that's awesome.
Exactly. And
it's like, I mean it with all the intent of awesome, as in it makes you go, oh, like just filled with awe.
Yeah, no, you're right, because it was gorgeous, and it will forever be imprinted. Trust me, I won't forget that. um, but one thing I only slightly remember, my sister Rebecca remembered this a lot better than I did, obviously. Keep in mind, at this time, I still didn't know that it was my cousin that did it, but
Right.
my cousin actually wound up showing up to the funeral. And he had grabbed me by the arm and brought me in the bathroom and started begging for my forgiveness. And I'm just looking at him like, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
And my sister saw him. I guess she saw him drag me, or she went in, or something along those lines. She wound up coming in the bathroom, and I just remember she socked him in the face and grabbed me and left.
Damn. Go sister. I mean, it sounds like the death, just by that behavior, and this is from an outside opinion, it sounds like he genuinely felt bad about the whole thing and that it was an accident. Like, he didn't mean to kill your brother, and it was tearing him apart. That's the outsider point of view from me. Just on that
And
engagement.
I'm absolutely sure you're right. Just from my standpoint, it's very hard to accept that.
Oh, I can understand that. You're in it.
It always will be.
And that was your best friend and your big brother. I mean, yeah, I can see that. That's going to be really hard to ever accept.
So when it came time for Sean to stand trial, he wound up getting off on insanity. So he never actually went to jail. Most he did was house arrest. Which,
did they at least get him for like third-degree manslaughter at the minimum?
They I don't really know exactly how that went down, but I know for a fact that he didn't go to jail ever, and he remained under house arrest, I think, for 20 plus years. He might even be under house arrest. Which, whatever. I guess that's keeping him away from people, so it's something.
It sounds like the state deemed that he's not a danger as long as he's sober.
But that's the key.
Yeah.
That's the absolute key. And I think all of us have had a person in our life like that just, they have to be sober or you're not safe. And that is the absolute worst feeling in the world.
I can imagine. I can only imagine. I'm sure most of the people in this chat can only imagine. And our listeners.
Yeah. Well, hopefully anybody that has gone through anything, I'm not saying the same situation, but anybody that has possibly gone through anything similar, hopefully this can be something that they can listen to and be like, they're not the only ones out there.
Well, that's one of the two main goals of this whole podcast.
Yeah, I know it is.
Yeah, I know you know it is. It's not like we haven't talked about it a lot.
No, yeah, no, exactly.
So one of the quick questions here in the chat, May was wondering if the insanity conviction was due to the alcohol, or does he have? Do you know if your cousin has an underlying illness that they were basing this on?
See, I've always thought that it had to do with the alcohol, but every time I have tried to look up his case file and really find out, it's always kind of never worked out. It just gives me the minimal read, and I can't really find anything beyond that. Maybe my researching is just wrong. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but...
well, if you're talking about the state that it happened in, that I think it is, that particular state, I was born in it. They are extremely difficult to get any kind of information out, public or otherwise. anything that has to do with government. They're just really, really hard.
I would prefer to think that rather than me being so stupid that I can't even figure out a computer.
Oh, no. There was a friend of mine who said that they would be able to get my identity. All I had to do is give them my social security number. And I was like, good luck, because I knew about the state. He couldn't find squat. And then he found out, I told him what state I was born in, and he went, oh, that explains everything.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's something.
I'm not saying what state it is. We're not giving away locations.
Agreed. Okay. We are jumping ahead again. Sorry, this story is kind of all over the place.
No, that's fine. You were really young when this all happened, so I'm sure that there's holes. We get it.
Oh yeah. I have genuine memory gaps from when I'm 16. Like I still don't. But actually, we're gonna go just talk about, how I brought up the family and the church and how everybody was all for God and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The sister that I was talking about earlier, we'll talk about her a little bit. Because after the loss of my brother, she was kind of just my everything. Like, anytime I was scared, anytime I needed someone to talk to, anytime I just needed a person, she was that person for me growing up. And what really sucks was because of the church and reasonings of the church that I personally won't get into because I can't confirm nor deny any of those facts, but because of the church, we did wind up having to move to New Mexico when I was 8 years old. And at the time, my sister, Rebecca, who was the one I was talking about, she actually wound up having a baby. For all intents and purposes, we'll call her Becky.
Okay.
Yeah. She winds up actually losing the place that she was living in here in California, and winds up moving out to New Mexico with me and my family. And
Okay.
Unfortunately, at that time, it was just the wrong time because my mother was really going through something else entirely, and I'm sure it was because of the loss of her son. I can only imagine losing son. And I think after that, that's when she really started to cheat on my dad and do all different types of drugs and other things. And it was really hard because as a kid, I knew what she was doing. She would bring me on dates with the people that she was cheating on my dad with and all that stuff. And luckily, my sister Rebecca would hear me out a little bit. So that was always to have.
I mean, it's bad enough to cheat, but to drag your kids along? Jeez.
It was a rough time. I think for everybody, our whole perspective on everything had just been turned around, and we just up and moved to a completely different place that, in all honesty, was hell. If you ever think about going to New Mexico, don't do it.
Yeah, I've heard stories that Breaking Bad actually gave the good side of New Mexico.
Yeah, there's very few good sides of New Mexico, but you're not wrong. There's good sides out there. I think the biggest problem is the drug rate out there. I think that's honestly the biggest problem.
Like Redding in Northern California.
Exactly.
And Stockton in the Central Valley area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right about that. Absolutely. You're right about that. But so while my mother was going through this and she was kind of bringing me on these dates. She was also introducing my sister to new and explorative eye openers that were definitely drugs. And she would do them with her all the time. And eventually my sister actually wound up being a big part of the drug movement out there. She was a big time dealer along with a lot of other things that we won't get into.
So she started out experimenting and then wound up becoming a kingpin.
Yeah. My mother, she was her, I have to say this because that's what it is or what she calls it. Gangster name was the teacher, and Rebecca's was Eva. That was along with 1,000 different other ones.
Damn.
It was an incredible turn from just this whole family we were really well off and we had lives going for us into this great hole of depression that I still think really seeds back to the church, personally.
And again, just for any listeners that may be wondering, we're not bashing religion in general. We're bashing cults. There's a difference.
You know, and I've even, my mom still attends, she doesn't like to call them cults. I call them cults because they're cults. She still attends them, and sometimes they're great. You know, it depends on the person that you are. I'm bashing the cults that are there using people and taking advantage of people, and, you know.
Right. That's the kind of cults that I'm bashing too.
Yeah.
And there are some that are like fanatically isolated, but they harm nobody. They live in peace. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, and there are cults that have a whole system where, like, you need a place to live, well, then you're going to study this, you know, and that sometimes that really works out for people and it helps them out for the better, and I'm all for it. But if you're in a state where these people are taking any sort of advantage of you, don't let yourself get there. Don't let yourself get there.
So yeah, that's our little disclaimer about religion here. We're not crapping on religion.
Yeah, not at all. But we're gonna go back to story of Rebecca.
Go for it.
So Rebecca at the time, she obviously she was very bitter with the church at the time, and she really was just trying to find a way to suppress everything that she had gone through and that the family had gone through and everything. And she has a daughter, she has a son now, and she also has a husband that she's trying really hard to get her life together. But when drugs get that hold on you, sometimes you just can't break loose. And unfortunately, this was one of those times. And I remember my sister always coming to me and being like, I'm going to change my ways. I'm going to stop the drugs. I've been to jail. I've been cleaned out. I'm all good. And then I remember, just because of how many times she told me this, I would just look her in the eye and be like, sure. I hope so. I don't believe you. I hope so.
And I bet that your hope was genuine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I still loved my sister. I still do. She made mistakes, obviously, but I love the shit out of my sister.
Well, I mean, this is the same one that pulled you out of that situation in the bathroom. I mean, she had your back. I can see that.
She had my back, she had my family's back, and she was always there when you really, really needed her, which is funny because it's still really hard to find people like that. Even when she was going through the craziest of stuff, she was always there. But eventually it got to a point where rumors had been spread, and I have no idea by who. I have a solid idea by who, but I'm not going to say. That my dad was the father of the Hells Angels. And there was actually a man who wound up coming and knocking on our door. And this is years later, by the way. This is years later. I'm 16 at the time, 15 or 16 at the time.
The irony is someone asked how old you were in the chat, and you answered it without even having to hear the question.
Right. I was getting ready to ask, but it came out anyway.
Yep. There you go, May.
Yeah. I was 15 or 16. I think I was 15. But actually, a man had wound up coming and knocking on our door, which luckily we were already in the process of moving. So we were staying at my brother's house at the time. But he had left just a strange rectangular box next to our house. And this is right after we find out that rumors are being spread that my dad is the father of the Hells Angels, which...
No, that's not terrifying.
Oh, yes, it was. And we had a truck that had followed us from New Mexico to Las Vegas. And I don't know why, but there was a truck that was following us. They took the same hotel. They took everything. I kept telling my dad, and he just kept being like, no, we're fine. It's fine. I'm like, that guy's following us.
For all we know, if your dad really was the father of Hell's Angels, that might have been some of his most trusted people making sure you guys were safe. For all you know. Of course, assuming if.
Yeah, but he's not. This is somebody spreading a very large lie, and it was terrifying. You know, my mother was obviously racking all kinds of fear because she was the one that had told us or given us this information. And apparently my sister knew about it too. And she was in a really bad situation. I found out later that once we had gotten back to California a year, after all that Rebecca had actually been very badly hurt. But when we were leaving, and her daughter and her son and her husband are still all in New Mexico. We weren't able to do anything about it at the time.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, we wound up buying a plane ticket and getting her daughter, Becky, back with us for a little while. During that very short period, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but what we do know is that Rebecca was in a very dangerous crowd. A very dangerous crowd. And she was in the hospital now and had been for about a month and a half now.
That's a long time.
Mm-hmm. And she was at a point of where she was getting better. But somehow she just got worse. From what I heard is she actually escaped from the hospital because she did that. And she wound up going and talking to some very unsafe people. Which, again, very stupid. And the same day, she wound up back in the hospital because she was just 1,000 times worse than before. At this point...
I mean, do you know what was going on? Like, why she was in the hospital? You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
It's okay. Coroners had said she had overdosed. Majorly. Which was very strange to them because they monitored exactly how much they were putting in her system because they knew that she was already a former drug addict, and a continuing drug addict, unfortunately. But reports have been said that there was 3 strange men that entered her room, and from what my mom has told me, she was very confident that they were the reasoning that she did not make it through that night.
And if she was really as high up in the drug world as you were saying, I mean, it could stand to reason that that could be retribution for something that she did that nobody else in the family knows about.
And I can't argue that at all.
As shitty as that is.
Yeah, I can't argue that at all. But I guess the whole reason why I wanted to tell all of that, was because no matter how much just blatant shit that she's put us through, and that she put herself through and her family through, no matter how much, we still all really tried, and we all believed in her, and we all loved her, and we still all love her till today. And that's really hard, because when you know that a person can go from being just an angel to honestly a demon, a little demon.
Yeah.
You know, when you see that happening and you're still in constant belief of they were a good person, it can be so detrimental to not only, the person that's there, but the family and everybody around them that loved them and saw how horrible they were to themselves. Because in all reality, it's not the person that they are. It's the drugs that control them.
Right.
And it's really hard to grasp that concept, and it's been hard for me. I've been dealing with this since I was 16 years old, and I am only just now getting to a point where I can accept where she was at, because it's very difficult.
I mean, it sounds a lot like, it's, again, another example. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. For all we know, all the dealing and everything that she did was to try to keep your family going. And that's how it kind of sounds.
I would love to believe that. And, it's...
I mean, it's hard to say with an addict's mind, especially when they are under the influence. They're just not the same.
Yeah.
No, and May made the point here that her mistakes are not the only thing that defined her, and please know that.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Because I'm really working on that.
And
she's
right.
Mm-hmm. I really wanted to share this story. I really felt that I needed to. Do you got any questions for me?
You, I mean, obviously, we can just hear in your voice. And I mean, I have the benefit of, and Casey has the benefit of being able to see how the emotions play across your face. But I mean, you could hear it. There's no question that this really hit you hard. I mean, I personally, when I met you and you told me this story, of course, deep down inside, I was going, ooh, podcast. But I honestly did not believe that you would find yourself in a position to be able to do it, because it's still so raw. It still shows. It's all so raw. So, I mean, thank you for your bravery to be able to do this. I mean, seriously, and I hope others out there that are listening to this, I hope that somebody can benefit from hearing this, that they're not alone. I mean, your story is, it sounds like it's straight from a Hollywood script. It is that crazy bad.
Oh, fantastic, aren't I? Fantastic.
With the person that you are, I mean, you've come out on top, honestly. You're more put together than I would have ever expected anybody who has gone through your situation. And for the listeners, she's actually, she is renting a room from my wife and me right now. Incredible woman. Absolutely incredible. For being 21, she's not 21. Even though she turned 21 during COVID and couldn't go party.
I found ways, don't worry.
You know, you've only been on the air for 40 minutes. We haven't even hit the old episode limit.
Okay. Well, sorry, my story went fast.
No, I mean, again, you have a lot of gaps. You have a lot that you're still dealing with. You know, it's understandable.
Luckily, after probably about 5 years of convincing, or 4 years, I should say, I actually decided to go back into therapy recently because I figured that would probably be the best thing in order to get myself to even handle this even more, because there's a lot more stuff that comes in with that church and with my sister and my brother and all of my family. That's all connected, and it's a lot.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, you kind of gave us a 10,000 foot view and a couple of close glimpses. And again, as you said, there's a lot that you've blocked out yourself, and I'm sure therapy can help with that.
I really like to.
And I'm going to address something from Bexy here. She says that she wants to hug you, and she wants me to hug you for her. Bexy, she's a no-contact person. I've only ever gotten one hug out of her. There's a personal bubble thing about her, and that's fine. I respect that.
But I appreciate the virtual hug. Take that. Thank you.
And May wants to take you out to karaoke.
Yep.
By the way, May, she has an incredible voice.
No, I'm not much of a singer, but thank you.
I'm not much of, yeah, just like Shane is not much of a singer. Come on.
Ariel sending you virtual hugs, and Brandy is thanking you for sharing your story.
Well, I really appreciate you guys. I'm really sorry that my story wasn't longer. I could have fleshed it out more. But
your story is as long as it needs to be.
Well, we do have a question though from May though. Is how has your mom and dad dealt with all this, and are they still together, and how have they managed?
My mom and dad divorced. Actually, as soon as my mom had taken me on that fourth date that I had mentioned before, didn't tell you how many, but as soon as I had been taken on that fourth date, I actually showed my dad where that was at, and she just so happened to be there. And at that point, my dad pretty much called that off. But my dad right now, he is doing fantastic. He's in a new relationship with a wonderful woman. You know, I might not agree with her views, but I love her spirit and I love the person that she is. She's a big sweetheart, and he's got 8 more kids to deal with at the age of 70. So,
Oof.
you know, go. As for my mother, her situation is a lot more complicated. She is finally in a stable house, which I really, really commend her for. I keep trying to encourage her to stay in that position because I do worry. But she's doing much better than what she was before.
That's good. And you said that you have another sibling?
I've got my 2 sisters, my one brother, and then I've got other brothers. I don't really know, but my 2 sisters handle it very differently. I think they bury it a lot more than I do. I really try and let it affect me once in a while. Whereas the rest of my family is kind of that type where it's just like emotions. That's gross. We're going to avoid that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, your whole family got nuked when you said, what, 6 or 7? And
Yeah,
it sounds
6.
like your family is, like, parts of your family are just now starting to recover. And even though it took a long time, it's not how long it takes to recover, it's the fact that they are recovering.
I'm really glad that they're trying.
Yeah. It's when they give up that's the real problem.
Yeah.
Kind of like there's a music video that I actually shared on the Facebook page. It's not the number of mistakes that you make, it's the number of things you get right that count.
That's absolutely right. You know, it's not even the number, it's the quality.
True.
It's the quality of things you get right. And again, that's why I still have a lot of love in my heart for my sister. Because the quality of things that she got right, she got it right.
And that's awesome. That's beautiful right there. Hey, KZ, are there any comments in the chat that I'm also monitoring and kind of harping you on?
We had a comment from Richard. Says stories are not defined by their length, but by the content of its pages.
Very true.
So, yep. We got May that said, "Don't apologize," because you were saying sorry about the jumping around and stuff there earlier. But and you got quite a few thank yous for sharing also.
And what Richard said, a good example. If you look at, like, The Art of War by Sun Tzu, it's only like 37 pages. It is one of the single most influential books ever written. It's about the content of its pages.
Awesome. Awesome. I really appreciate all the support from everybody. I just really do. I do wish I could have more to say, but if you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to ask. I'm not too shy to answer, but if you're gonna ask any personal questions, as in the wares, probably won't tell you that.
Yeah, and this is also why one of the things I want to do with having a website, which we just need the funding for that, is so that way you could have, I want to have accounts for the guests and accounts for the people in chat. That way, if you're a guest and you're in chat but you use different names, you can still keep your anonymity. That way, the conversation could continue. And that way, the support can still keep coming. And people could check in on you and say, "Hey, how you doing, Yosh?" Stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Because I really want this to be a community. Oh, go ahead, KZ. Yep. Sorry to cut you off.
No worries. May said that you have such a kind heart and spirit, and said that thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
That seems like Ariel liked my idea about the
the
website. Yeah, I want like I said, I've said it before in other episodes, I want this to be more than a podcast. I want this to be a community. In order for it to be a community, there's got to be something that stands 24/7, 365, where people can keep communicating.
Absolutely.
I mean, yes, Absolutely. We could have a community based around this, and we could go ahead and set up like a Reddit page. It's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there is a Reddit page. I just haven't put anything on it. So, anybody have any questions? Wow, you might get out of here kind of early, Yosh.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no, don't be sorry. I've told you a million times, unless you're trying to hurt me, you don't ever have to apologize to me. Only if you try it deliberately.
That won't really happen ever.
Yeah, I know. You're actually a real sweetheart. You look tough as nails. You look like you could bite someone's head off and spit it out, which I'm pretty sure you could. But deep down inside, you are just a big softie. You are definitely a person of quality.
Oh, thank you.
Have I recommended the book? Which book?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah! You know what? Bexy just came up with a really good point here. I don't know if I actually told you about it, but there is a really great book that might help you out a lot. It's the Grief Recovery Handbook. I recommend the 20th anniversary edition. It's either 20th or 25th anniversary. It changed my world. I know that it helped to change Bexy's world. It helps to have a partner to go through it, and unfortunately life got so busy I wasn't able to go through the whole thing with Bexy, but she seems to have gone ahead on her own and did it anyway. You don't have to have a partner to do it. It's helpful. Unbelievable book. I'm going to go ahead and drop that in the comments on this afterwards, and also in the Facebook page. It
Awesome.
is an amazing book, and it's only like $15. It really isn't that expensive.
And
But-
Bexy, if there was a real life cartoon light bulb that would appear above somebody's head, Eric had that at that moment.
And there's the name drop again.
Oh, damn it.
It's okay, KZ. I've only dropped your name once. You do it about once an episode.
Yeah, that's why I try to stay quiet.
Yeah, I wish that we actually captured that video of me going, "Oh yeah!" 'Cause-
Right? Oh, yeah, that was hilarious.
No, and that's another thing that I want on our website too, is the resource page for stuff like that book, the books that other people drop. I don't know if there is an audio version, Brandy. I would have to look for that. But I mean, there's a lot of like work that you have to do. Like you have to sit down and draw out a timeline, fill out your timeline, write out small essays and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of work that you have to do, but if you put in the work, it really pays off. It's one of those things that you get out of it what you put into it. And like I said, it was life-changing. I have gotten over so many things that held me back with grief just from this handbook.
Okay. I'll actually give that a full-on try because why not?
It's a really small book. It's only like 150 pages, I think.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
Bexy just said it's a lot of work, but it's amazing and helps so much.
I know one thing that actually really has been surprisingly helpful has been D&D.
I miss playing D&D. You ready for this? You ready for this? Okay, now we're getting a little off topic here, but I actually play D&D with... there's some people in the chat, too, that I play D&D with. The one day a week that I have to take care of my in-law is Wednesday. The one day a week that we all had set aside for D&D.
Yeah,
Damn it!
Yeah. I mean, set aside another day.
It's all about... I know it's easier for you and for all the other people except for one. The one person. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a version of it for Auto. I see it on Audible. It's $20. I'm going to drop a couple of links in the chat for the book here. Here's the
Awesome.
Audible. And maybe you could use Discord. Yeah, there's everyone's talking about virtual gaming.
Bad idea.
And then here's an Amazon link for the regular book. That Amazon for Kindle, it's $7. Free with an Audible trial, $8.49 paperback. Yeah, it's come down a lot in price, but it is such an amazing book.
Awesome. Thank you for that recommendation because I will actually give that a solid go.
Definitely. I just dropped both links, the Audible and the Amazon. That way you can go audio or paperback. I went paperback personally. It was actually handed to me by a therapist and said, "You're paying an extra like $15 for this, but we're going to work through this together." I'm like, okay.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I had a falling
It's
out
hard.
overall with that therapist, but that's the one thing I got from that therapist that I cannot put a price on.
I was gonna say it's hard to find like people that are gonna interact with you like that, because that's really cool.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Bexy saying that it is well worth the money it costs. It's truly life-changing. Yeah, it's not often that you find a book where you have people just like, holy crap, this book literally changed my life. You'll hear people say it, but, I mean, my God, it changed my life. And then Brandy was saying, it's probably good to have a physical copy to put notes in. Yeah, not a bad idea. Get your highlighter out.
I do want to do just a quick shout out really fast, because I actually sent this link to La Madre. So I just want to say I'm sorry if I hurt you in any way. I'm only telling my version of how everything happened. And I want to be completely honest about everything. So I just wanted to say that really fast.
And you're invited to come on the show and give your side of it too if you would like. Just throwing that out there. Yeah, actually kind of funny. The last 15 minutes or so has been dedicated more about, sharing resources and love. This is awesome. I love this.
Yeah, this is really cool.
I'm telling you, the people in our chat are the best. They're just absolutely amazing. I don't know what we did right to get such amazing people in our chat, but not questioning it.
Well, what you did right was you were looking for the right audience. You were looking for the people that were looking for that extra help and that extra, word of what they needed to hear. And I think that's awesome.
Well, thank you. I do have an update for everybody. I've been talking to R. If anybody needs a quick refresher, she was the one whose daughter was molested by her brother in her house while she went out shopping when her daughter was really, really young. She has started her book. The book that she talked about that, to help parents deal with when something happens to one of their children and it wrecks their world too. She's been reaching out to some therapists. They've been coming back very positively. I've helped hook her up with some people. And I got to read part of her meandering outline, not meandering, just her, thinking it out in the outline. Unbelievably powerful stuff. Like that one page I read, it hit me right in the feels hard. It's amazing.
Awesome.
Nice.
Okay, this chat's about to make me cry. I should probably not read it anymore. Damn it, Brandy. She's saying that I've impacted everyone's life in here one way or another and brought us all together. God, you guys are going to make me cry. This is not about me.
Well, no, it's not, but it's about everybody in the chat room.
It really is.
So, and you're part of that. You're a major part of that. And you're the whole reason that this is a thing. So she's absolutely right.
There's a part of me that wants to be all bragging, woohoo! But there's that other part of me. It's just like, it's really humbling, guys. Seriously. I mean, this is such a work of passion that I've been fighting hard for. I've had some resistance come from places for this podcast where I had never expected it. And I fight tooth and nail to make sure this keeps going on. I've gone nights without sleeping, stressing over how I'm going to keep this going sometimes. But in the end, this is bigger than me. This is so much more. I recognize that. I may be a catalyst to help get this going, but this is beyond me.
Oh, somebody's
okay.
Angry.
Yeah. That would be my littlest one. I think that he ran into his bedroom screaming, which is near the bedroom that Yosh is renting. So, sorry, we try to keep this as professional as possible, but it's hard to do when you have a 3-year-old.
That's all right, though. I mean, real life's the thing.
Yeah.
Kind of what we're all talking about, that real life problem stuff.
Yeah, I do have a detached office. It is currently occupied by my oldest. When he's in a position to go ahead and move on, which I'm not trying to pressure him at all. I want him to take all the time that he needs so that way he could be as successful as possible. I wouldn't mind if he stays until he has the money to make a down payment on a house and buy it. But when that happens, that office will be where I broadcast from. I have hardwire internet going out there, so I'm good.
Which he appreciates very much.
Oh, I'm sure. Now, if we wind up having a bomb shelter on our property, which really looks like we might, that will be my office. The existing office could become a she shed. I don't care. I want the bomb shelter. All right, so anybody have any other questions about Yosh, her experience, her family? Anything? The cult. I mean, we got time. Damn it, I just read Bexy's really long comment and I'm about to cry again. Bexy, I swear to God. So her comment was that I've drawn such great people because of how compassionate, kind, passionate, and amazing I am. I've shared my story and have made others feel safe to do the same. Well, I mean, I'm not going to ask anyone to do what I'm not willing to do myself. That's just, no. I can't sit in this chair and demand of others to do what I'm not willing to do.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Well, we're not getting very much in the way of talking here. Now, here's the funny part. Just listening to this again. Now, our previous guest, Shelly T, she had a good headset on because she works from home doing phone stuff. So, of course, her audio sounded pretty good. Now, I have a professional condenser mic. I have a professional, sound system and everything. This is, I have a recording studio in my bedroom right now that's going to eventually be an office. You, on your phone, sound better than KZ on his phone. So, yeah.
I'm sorry you got
Yeah, so KZ, give me what you want, what you need, or if you want me to do it, I'll do it. We'll put together an Amazon wish list and throw that up on the fundraising because you need to sound more professional.
Gotcha. Well, I probably would need a whole computer for that, so we can pump the brakes on that one.
All right. I mean, there's some cheap computers out there. You don't need anything super expensive. Audio doesn't take a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, you could do professional audio off of USB 2.0.
Oh, yeah.
So, it looks like the chat is pretty much dead now. Just, Richard saying, bomb shelters need to come back into style. I agree. Brandy suggested a Chromebook.
nasty.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say this. We just bought my 5-year-old an HP laptop. It has Windows 10 personal on it. We got it for like $400, I want to say. Maybe a little bit less. And it'd be just fine for that. Then you just need to get a microphone on it. And there are omnidirectional mics you could plug into your phone jack. Yeah, May would know. I mean, she is a porch drunkie and does have her own podcast.
Well, I'll see what I can find for another microphone for this thing.
All right, so I guess that's it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to my story. And thank you for actually being really supportive and putting out a lot of feedback on, what I could research and all that good stuff. And I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Thank you for being brave enough to come and share. Casey and I both know how hot that seat can be when it comes to sharing. It is a hot seat, and it takes a lot of courage to do what you did. And of course, if we can help, we're going to help. It's what we do.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you, guys.
Yep. All right, and just have a little bit to throw out at the end here for everybody, and then we'll see you next week.
If you like what you hear and you want to help support the show, hit like on this episode and give us a follow. Also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/mentallivecast, all one word. This way you can stay up to date with what is happening between episodes. Also, share this episode and your favorite episodes with others that you think might enjoy the show or might benefit from listening to it. And if you want to help the show grow, go to our Spreaker page at www.spreaker.com/show/mentallivecast. Again, all one word. Go to the description area and expand it, and at the bottom you will see different ways that you can go ahead and donate to the show. We have plans on expanding the show beyond just being a podcast, and we need your help getting there.